You are ready to go.
Okay, Ms. Weeks?
Yes, ma'am. Pursuant to Executive Order number 20-69 issued by the Office of Governor Ron DeSantis on March the 20th, 2020, municipalities, including CRAs, may conduct meetings of their governing boards without having a quorum of its members present physically or at any specific location, and utilizing the communications technologies such as telephonic or video conferencing as provided by Section 120.54, Section 5, subsection B2, Florida statutes. The members of the CRA board are appearing remotely for this meeting. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Good evening again, everyone. This is the Opa-locka Community Redevelopment Agency meeting. Today is Wednesday, April the 22nd, and the time is now 5:14. Thank you all for being present, and we want to call the meeting to order, and we'll ask Madam Clerk if you could do roll call, please.
Okay. Board Member Bass. Okay. Board Member Burke.
Here.
Okay. Board Member Davis.
Here.
Okay. Board Member Kelly.
Present.
Board Member Paget.
Present.
Board Member Titus. And Chair Russell.
Here.
Okay. Attendance confirmed.
Now we're gonna have a moment of prayer. I'm gonna ask Commissioner Kelly if you would give us a prayer, please.
Our Father, our God, we thank you for all of your blessings. We thank you, God, continue to look on us, continue to guide us, continue to keep us. Give us wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, those things which are pleasing in your sight. In Jesus' name we do pray, amen.
Amen. Commissioner Burke, if you will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
One
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty
and justice for all.
We're glad to be able to come together and have our meeting, and seeing that everyone is safe, and just continue to pray for our nation and for everyone. And as we continue to do a great work for our city and our community. So I'm gonna move and ask the clerk, are there any add-ons?
No, the only thing that was added was basically just a draft for the 2019 annual report. We just added a document, and I sent that about 30 minutes ago, but that was the only thing.
Okay. Okay, so that means that we really haven't had time to go over that document if we just got it 30 minutes ago.
Yes, ma'am. It was a draft that Mr. Gay wanted to add the report with it. So I resent it just to be on the safe side that everyone could have it.
Okay, Mr. Gay, I see you.
Yes, Madam Chair, if I could just add, this is a document that is required to be presented to the board for submission to Miami-Dade County on an annual basis. We've been working on this document for quite some time, and now that we have switched over into doing things virtually, I did notice that there were a few things that were omitted from the package that was sent out on Saturday, this being one of those particular documents. The information that's being provided is very similar to the information that's been provided from previous years. And we have had some communications with Miami-Dade County as it relates to the submission of the document. It was originally supposed to be submitted on March 31st, but due to the COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of things have been pushed back in order for particular boards to meet and be able to make decisions as to how to move forward with those particular items. If it is your desire, we could move on the item today, but if everybody feels that they need to have more time to digest it, we can defer the item to the next meeting.
Okay, I'm looking through my package that I have here to see, is that document a part of the package? I don't see it.
It is, it's at the end.
Okay, does everyone here, do you have that document with, have you had time to go over the document? Board members?
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I think what we can do, that's part of one of the items that we're going to vote on, if I'm not mistaken. So we could address that when we get to that item.
Okay.
Because it's not an actual item that we need to vote on separately as part of a package. So if I'm not mistaken, Madam Attorney, you can correct me. We could address that in that item when we get to it, and whether we want to make it a part or defer that whole item. We don't have to add it on as a whole item, correct?
Let me look to see which, through the chair, which item it relates to. Mr. Gay, what item does this relate to?
On the agenda, it relates to item, it's resolution H3.
And this was already on the agenda, is what you're saying?
The title and everything was already on the agenda. It's just that the backup document was not submitted at the proper time.
I see. You all could certainly consider this with the item that was on the agenda as backup.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
having heard the attorney, then we can address it when we get to H3, whether we want to move on the item or defer the whole item. But we
Okay.
don't need to do it separately. That's what I was suggesting.
Okay. All right, well, we'll put that as an add-on. Madam Attorney, do we need to vote on that as an add-on?
No, ma'am. From what Mr. Gay is saying, this item was already on the agenda that went out and was publicly noticed. And this is just additional backup to the resolution that he stated is already on the agenda, which is under, I believe, H3. If I'm not mistaken, it will be a resolution approving the CRA annual report for 2019. And so this is just backup to that item. It is not an add-on, it's already on your agenda. Okay,
all right, well, okay, let's move on to F, which is approval of the minutes.
Move
from
it.
1/22/20.
Move it, Madam Chair.
Yes, moved by Commissioner Kelly.
Second.
Second by Vice Mayor Davis. Any corrections? If not, Ms. Hall, can we have roll call? Vote on the item, please.
Okay, Board Member Burke,
Yes.
Board Member Davis,
Yes.
Board Member Kelly,
Yes.
Board Member Paget,
Yes.
Board Member Titus,
Yes.
okay, and Chair Russell.
Yes. And,
Minutes approved.
and let us please acknowledge that Board Member Titus is now, she wasn't previous, but she's now being recognized as part of the meeting.
Okay.
Okay. Now we're gonna open up public comments. Public comments are open. Did we have anyone that sent in anything for public comments, Ms. Hall?
No, ma'am, at the moment, I have not had any comments at the moment.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
For the record, as a part of the notice that was that went out, Ms. Hall, if you can confirm that the public was given an opportunity to participate.
Yes, ma'am, I'm able to confirm.
Thank you.
Okay, well then public comments will be closed. And before we move to the first resolution, I'm going to ask the attorney, I had spoken with her before. I think I need to recuse myself from voting on this item because I do have some relationship with Opa-locka CDC. And I don't know whether it's a direct conflict, but just to err on the side of caution, maybe I need to recuse myself. And if I do, how do I do that here? Do I
Yes.
leave the meeting and come back?
No, ma'am. My understanding is what you would need to do is there is a form, a conflict form. You will have so many days after this meeting to 10 days to sign the conflict form. The clerk or Ms. Hall will have it, and if she does not have it, she can get it from the clerk. Certainly, if you feel comfortable to leave the room, you can. I don't know that that is a part of any ordinance that I'm aware of. But I think certainly you have stated the conflict on the record, and you'll just sign the form, and that's all you need to do.
Okay, I'm not sure whether it's a conflict, but because I do have relationship with them. So what I'm going to do at this time, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Commissioner Board Member Kelly, who's also the vice chair, and ask him if he would chair this item.
Okay, we're moving now to the first item, to H1. Madam Attorney.
A resolution of the City of Opa-locka Community Redevelopment Agency approving the creation of an OCRA facade improvement program in the OCRA area and authorizing the Opa-locka Community Development Corporation to manage and operate the facade improvement program pursuant to certain terms and conditions set forth in Exhibit A and Exhibit B, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for severability clause, providing for conflict and repealer, providing for an effective date.
We need a motion in a second. Then we'll have discussion. Need a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Board Member Davis.
Second.
I believe that's, I don't see, that's Board Member, that Mayor Paget.
Yes, sir.
Can hardly hear you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. Now we're in discussion. Any discussion? All right, hearing no discussion. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Yes, sir. All right, Board Member Burke,
Yes.
Board Member Davis,
Yes.
okay. Vice Chair Kelly,
Chair always goes last.
okay, all right. Board Member Paget,
Yes.
Board Member Titus,
Yes.
okay, and Vice Chair Kelly.
Yes,
Item approved.
motion passed. Madam Attorney, it's back in your hands. We'll wait on the chair to come back. I don't know how we get, oh, she's back, okay.
Thank you.
In your hands, Madam Chair.
Thank you, sir. We'll move to the next item, next resolution.
A resolution of the City of Opa-locka Community Redevelopment Agency authorizing the creation of a downtown master plan and authorizing the selection of Stantec Inc. to perform the requested services pursuant to RFQ number 2020-0210-0200.
Resolution has been read. Can I get a motion?
For discussion?
Moved by Board Member Burke for discussion,
Second for discussion.
second by Vice Mayor Davis. Discussion is open.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
how do we go about selecting the person to manage this project?
Okay, that would be a question, I think, Mr. Gay, you would be able to answer that?
Yes, ma'am, I will.
Go ahead.
To the chair and members of the CRA board, Gregory Gay. This particular item has been an item that was moved for a few months ago. We went through a selection process. We put out an RFP at the beginning of the year to select a individual or firm to provide services for the creation of this downtown master plan. We went through a selection process. We put out an RFP per your direction. And from that RFP, there were several agencies and that presented themselves qualified to be able to provide the services that we were seeking. We did have an interview panel comprised of individuals, professionals within the city of Opa-locka, to interview these particular entities to basically make a better determination as to whether they fit the proper mold as it relates to what the RFQ requested. From there, we made, from the committee made a recommendation. The staff reviewed their recommendation and concurred with it, and therefore that recommendation has been proffered to you for your consideration.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir. Board Member Burke.
I realized we had a selection panel, but I think if we're gonna be voting on this stuff, the board members should have, I haven't gotten anything. I don't know whether any other board member have gotten anything on this company. I don't know whether this company has experience in this. I don't know whether this company has ever done anything like this. And I'm here to vote on this. And I've never gotten anything on, I don't know anything about this company. So we're just here to vote on it and rely on staff and their interviews.
Mr. Gay, did you hear Board Member Burke want to know were there any interviews and were any, is anyone from this company, are they on the present at the meeting now?
Good afternoon. This is Jared Beck with Stantec. Can you hear me?
Yes, just 1 second, sir. Mr. Gay?
Yes, all of the companies that submitted applications and submitted themselves, the request for qualifications were interviewed. From there, the interview team did make their recommendation. So it's their recommendation has been proffered before. So yes, they did go through an interview process.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
What I'm saying is, after they were interviewed, this information should have been given to the board members before this meeting so we could review it. You know, I understand we had staff to interview and everything, but I still would like to have known a little bit about the company before I sit here and vote on it. I'm just saying that it might be too late now, but I'm saying in the future, you know, if we put out an RFP, once they select who they're going to select, I would like to get the information before the meeting so I can review it. As of now, there's nothing to review. I'm just voting now based on what staff is saying. And I don't like it.
Okay, I hear you, Board Member Burke. Anyone else? I think Vice
Madam
Mayor
Chair.
Davis.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, go ahead, Board Member Kelly.
No, I'll wait till Vice Mayor Davis finishes. I didn't know he was up next.
I think Vice Mayor Davis seconded for discussion, so that's why I went to him second. Go ahead, Vice Mayor Davis.
Just pretty much echoing Commissioner Burke's concern. I didn't receive any information as well about the company. I know usually when we procure items, Usually it comes with a scope of like work and company history and that sort of thing, as well as details into actually why the selection committee chose to choose this certain company. So just along the lines of Commissioner Burke, don't really want to beat a the dead horse again. So obviously it's not there. So I don't know what we do.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir. Board Member Kelly.
thank you.
Vice Chair.
I do not understand. I know we want to see a downtown master plan. We've been talking about it. What I don't understand in this process, after the proposals were received and you got it down to 3 or whatever, I do not understand why the board was not given an option with possibly 3 firms that we would make the selection. And I know we're in virtual, even to have them to make some kind of public presentation virtually on what they could do, and then the board make a decision. I'm very uncomfortable with just ratifying one selection without, having at least 2 or 3 options. And that's nothing against this particular company. It's just because of something major of this magnitude that's going to have such a big impact in our downtown. I would have wanted to have an opportunity to bounce off questions from at least more than one firm that had been recommended by staff. Again, maybe staff feels this is the best company, but to see this magnitude, I think the board should have weighed in and had more than one option rather than just ratifying. Personally, with me, I'm not going to support the item because I think we still ought to have the option. But I would have preferred to see more than just one to ratify. This is a major undertaking, something we've been talking about, mass development of downtown. And I, for one, even though they're present, and I appreciate they would probably give us a scope of what they can do, which would sound good. There might have been other companies that this board might have decided would do consideration as well. Considering, I understand you had about 13, you whittled it down to 5 or 6. So you had a good representation, and I would have liked to have an opportunity to see or compare that, as my colleagues have mentioned. So that's just where I am. I would suggest, because I know we still want to do it, that if possible, an attorney can give direction along with staff. Is it possible to get the evaluation of those top 3, since the subcommittee had already whittled it down to that top 3 or 6 or however they did, and we get the information, and then at a subsequent meeting, a special meeting if necessary, we will vote on it, because this is a major item, in my opinion, for this board, because you're talking about our entire downtown master plan, which covers a whole lot, and in my opinion. That's my thought. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Rose Titus.
Yes. Go ahead, Board Member Titus.
Yes, thank you. I'm used to reviewing whatever, a score sheet, so to speak. I don't know what basis the selection committee actually made their selection from. We should have gotten some type of scoring sheet to show what areas of concern was theirs, and just give us an idea of what and who we're dealing with, and how the selection committee actually came up with the conclusion that they did. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Board Member Titus. Anyone else?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Yes, sir. Board Member Paget.
Thank you. I echo the concerns of my colleagues to have this resolution without any backup documentation, to give us the idea of the scope of services and the score sheet. I just don't understand how we would be able to vote on an item without backup documentation. So I would recommend for the sponsor of the item to declare this and provide us with that information, or it looks like this is going to fail. So if we can get that information and at another meeting, we can do our due diligence, review the information, and make a good vote on behalf of the people. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Paget. I think everyone on the board have spoken. Okay, and well, I'll go now. I agree with the sentiments of all of the board members. I don't see anything in the packet from the company. All I basically see is the name of the company that was chosen. I don't know whether, Mr. Gay, that was an oversight on behalf of staff or something, because we should have received something and, you know, some background or something on the company as well. So looks like the item is not going to be able to go forward tonight. I don't know. So I'll hear from you, Mr. Gay.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. After reviewing all of the information that has been provided, it has been determined that some information was not included within the packet. You should have had at least a score sheet showing how each of these particular teams were being evaluated in a fair basis, so that everybody would have a equal understanding as to how we came to this particular recommendation. So based on that information being available, and plus due to the fact that we think that it's only fair that it should be presented to you with as much background information as possible, we would like to go ahead and defer this item to our next CRA meeting.
Okay. Since we're going to defer the item, I know that there are, is there someone that represents their company on a part of the meeting, Mr. Gay?
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Jared Beck is a part of, is listening in on the meeting. But there are some other companies that are being represented as well. That's also a part of the meeting.
Okay, so there are other companies that were a part of the selection committee that were not selected that are part of the meeting too?
Yes, they are.
Okay, board members, how do you, can I get some feedback? How do you want to deal with this?
Chair.
Do you want to just defer the item? Give me some
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
If I could recommend that we defer the item and ask the director to come back and encompass all of the concerns, but instead of limiting it to one, I would suggest you do the top three. As was indicated, if you did a scoring sheet, it ought to be on that scoring sheet how they came up with their top. But I don't want to just come back with one company with just their top scoring. I'd like to see at least the top three, so the commission, this board, I'm sorry, can have the flexibility to look at the top three based on that scoring and based on the criteria or information that was presented to the scoring committee, that we also would have information to be able to make a decision. And I would suggest that we would try to piggyback if possible on the next, whenever commission meeting might be held, since this probably would be the only item, if possible, to give us a time frame. And of course, the attorney and yourself and the chair can work on that as to when it will come back. So if the regular city commission would have some kind of special meeting or something, and maybe you could convene 30 minutes prior or something just for this item. Otherwise, you'll be waiting until our next regular meeting. So that was my suggestion on how to go about it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
This is Jared Beck with Stantec, and I would just add that, certainly we recognize the significance of this project and want you to be very comfortable with it in the process. So there's no concern on our part.
Okay, and sir, who did you represent?
Stantec Consulting.
Okay, Mr. Gay, can you please, for us that are on the line that maybe are not familiar with the other companies that are on the line as well, would you just identify them? They don't have to speak, just identify them so we'll know who's on the line, who's on the call.
Virtual. Okay, gladly. In addition to Stantec, we have E.L. Waters, an associate with Mr. Elbert Waters, who's also on presented as a part of this. We also have another company. If Mr. Delane could kind of provide us with some background on that, with that particular company.
Good afternoon, Corey on the line. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Good. So the company that was selected, we actually went through a selection process. Provided was a memo to the city manager that kind of explained the entire process.
Excuse me, Mr. Delane. All we want to know is the companies that are represented here today. We just want to know the names of those companies. And then when you bring the information back to us, then you could, as Board Member Kelly said, you could tell us how you came up with the top 3 selections, but just make us aware of who's on the line today.
Okay, so far I'm aware of Stantec, EL Waters and Company. I believe it was Ecosatima, and I'm not familiar with the other firm. I'll have to look back at my documents, but in representation, there's 4 firms on the line.
Okay, so there are 4 firms on the line.
Yes.
Okay, would any of the other firms that have not been identified, would you just tell us your name, what firm you represent, please?
Yes, my name is Belinda Tato. I am speaking on behalf of Ecosistema Urbano together with Antonella Minanon. And if I may say 1 second, we have been invited through an email to this meeting.
Excuse me, ma'am. All we want is the name of your company. This is not the time now for you to present yourself. We just want to know who's on the line. So can you please save that maybe for a later time?
Sure, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. So we have EL Waters, Stantec, and Echo, and who else do we have on the line?
Good evening, this is Antonella Milano, also part of Ecosistema Urbano.
Okay, all right, thank you so much, and we apologize to you all for coming and to not being able to move forward with the process, but as you heard the board members' concern that we're going to defer this item, and our director's going to bring it back to us with the information that is required. And I want to ask the attorney, do we need to vote on them bringing back to us the top 3 or companies, or what do we do? How do we move from here? Because I like the recommendation of Vice Chair Kelly. I like that recommendation. So how do we move forward with that?
I think the staff has heard you, and I do know, because I saw their backup prior to the meeting, that they have the top 3, and there may have been more, I'm not sure, but they do have the top 3 at least on their sheet. So Mr. Gay, if you can confirm that you heard that, and if that's the case, you can just simply defer it, and as staff will be, it sounds like staff will be pulling this item. Mr. Gay, if you can confirm you heard the issue.
Yes, I confirm.
Okay. Okay. All right, so the item has been deferred. Thank you, Mr. Gay. We're going to move into the director's report.
Madam Chair, before you go to the director's report.
Yes, sir.
Can once they do what they're gonna do, I mean the director, can they get that paperwork to us as soon as possible so we can study it and have everything before the next meeting, please?
Mr. Gay, did you hear a board member, Burke, wants before the next meeting, the next time that we're going to have a meeting, can you get that information to us ahead of time so that we can have time to go over it and before the meeting?
understanding the urgency of this particular program and based on the recommendations by all of the board members, we will move forward in providing you with all the background information. If not by the end of this week, under the circumstances, staff will be back in the office, hopefully at the beginning of next week, and we will be able to move that information and bring that before you. We do understand that it's something that we want to move on very expeditiously. And if there is a need to have a special CRA meeting before the next commission meeting, we want to have that information before you so that you can make a very conscious decision.
Okay. Is staff working virtually from home?
We have been working virtually for the past week and a half. A few of us came in today specifically to make sure that this meeting goes as smoothly as possible.
Okay. Okay, I just want to make sure that if you all were working from home, that you still were having access to be able to get the information to us that we need. All right,
yes,
thank you.
We'll get it to you.
Any other concerns from the board members before we move into the director's report?
Madam
Chair.
Chair.
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
I heard you say the director's report. What happened to H3? Was that deferred as well?
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, no, we got one more item. I'm sorry. Thank you.
You're trying to beat Mayor Packett's time on the meeting, aren't you?
Oh, I thought I had him beat. I thought I had you, Mayor. I thought I had you. Go ahead, Ms. Weeks. I'm sorry.
A resolution of the City of Opa-locka Community Redevelopment Agency approving the CRA annual report for 2019, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for severability clause, providing for a conflict and repealer clause, providing for an effective date.
Move for discussion.
Second for discussion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Second for, go ahead. I was reading something else. Go ahead.
What do we, go ahead.
It was moved.
Right.
And second. So
yes.
Go ahead for discussion. I'm sorry.
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
I think this is the item that you were referencing where we got some information, I guess maybe 30, 40 minutes before the meeting. So if maybe the director can give us some clarity. I know he alluded to it earlier, that was a part of this package information that we didn't get. So if he can clarify that, I know that was a concern I had as well.
Yes, members of the board and committee and the CRA board. This particular report is an annual report that is to be submitted by the CRA. Basically, it gives you an annual update of the CRA's activities. Within this report, you have an introductory page, which basically gives a narrative of the history of the CRA and how it came about. It recognizes who the board members are and in their rightful positions. Also, it gives a short history as it relates to the staffing and how the staffing has evolved of the CRA for the past few years. One of the things that I would like to point out is that through the recommendations of the Auditor General's report, there were some things that were expressed within that report that needed to be addressed as far as the CRA is concerned. And it looks into the interlocal agreement for the CRA, the staff auditors report, and there are some recommendations to establish some policies and procedures for that particular operation of the CRA. It also speaks to the future of the CRA as it relates to what the CRA is doing now as it relates to the redevelopment plan and how the redevelopment plan needs to be considered for an update. The redevelopment plan was basically created between 2009 and 2011. And while a lot of the projects and programs that are a part of that particular redevelopment plan are still relevant, there may be some new ideas or some new programs or some new areas of the city that may want to be taken into consideration for the new redevelopment opportunities. within the CRA district. Therefore, there needs to be a recommendation to staff and to look into the opportunities of either updating the CRA master plan or even expanding the CRA master plan. And as a part of that particular process, one of the things that we do want to take in consideration is the fact that there is a hard and fast sunset date that was established by the Florida State Congress last year. We want to be able to make sure that our CRAs will be in a position to take advantage of all of the things that relate to that hard sunset date of the CRAs. Other than that, there are some ideas for goals and objectives that we wish to achieve overall over the next year within the CRA district, reevaluating some of the areas that are looking for redevelopment opportunities and reevaluating areas of tax incentives to be incorporated into the program. And finally, looking at the long-term goals as it relates to updating the CRA and looking at other activities for that. That's basically a quick summary of what the annual report speaks to. And if there is any other questions or concerns related to that, I can address them at this time.
Any concerns for the director on this item?
Madam Chair?
Yes, sir.
Did I understand the director to say that a part of the information that was added or as a part of the report that we're voting on would be an extension or adding to the boundaries of the CRA?
Mr. Director, did you hear the question from Board Member Vice Chair Kelly?
I did, and through the chair, within the report, there is a recommendation to look at opportunities for extending the timeline of the CRA and looking at possible expansion of the CRA. Those particular actions would require the board to consider an update to the finding of necessity if we are to look at expanding the CRA into additional areas of the city. It will also take in consideration the fact that update the redevelopment plan in order to address those particular concerns that may have not been a part of the plan when it was initially created in 2009 and adopted in 2011. So that's just to recommend additional action items to take place. So it's not saying that we're going to automatically expand the boundaries. That does require us to go through necessary processes in order to achieve that.
Or if I understand you correctly, you're adding as a part of recommendation, but it still have to come back if the board decided it wanted to go in that direction.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I can support that. I'm really concerned that we need to kind of zero in on where we at and what we have, and we're making some small steps. I don't want to go see us extending this and extending that, knowing that window of creation for CRAs, unless something changes, is already limited. So I don't want to go adding more to that we can't get more, done. So, but if it's just recommendation, I can understand that. So that's basically only part of that additional sheet or whatever that was added that we just got 30 minutes that encompass as a part of what we already received, if I'm hearing you correctly. Through the chair to Mr. Gay.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
That is correct.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other questions for the director concerning the report?
Madam Chair?
Yes, sir. Board Member Paget.
I just wanted to state for the record, I'm not going to be voting in favor of this. I like to be able to have documentation in time so I can review it. As was stated, this document was provided to us just 30 minutes before the start of this meeting, and it is a multi-page document that has technical information on it, and I would like to have more time to be able to digest this, offer any thoughts on it, because this represents our first year as a new board. So I'm at the moment, I'm just wanting to relay why I'll be voting not in favor. I'll prefer it to be deferred so we do have time. But I lend to the consciousness of my rest of my board members, but I can't support this at the moment. Thank you.
Thank
Madam
you.
Chair.
Thank you, Board Member Paget. I'm going to hear from Board Member Burke, and then we'll hear from Board Member Davis.
Madam Chair, is this something time sensitive that have to get back before the county in reference to our CRA? Because my sentiments are the same with Board Member Paget. I mean, you can't have us sitting here. You got multi pages, 30 minutes. We didn't have time to look at none of this. So if this is time sensitive, and this is in the best interest of our CRA, okay, I can deal with that. But otherwise, I can't support this as well.
Okay. Thank you, Board Member Burke. Board Member Davis.
I just want to piggyback. I don't think Commissioner Burke's question was answered. Is this a time sensitive matter? Because I agree with Commissioner Burke. If it's time sensitive, of course, that would change things. But me personally, I would like to see, I mean, I know usually as a part of the annual reports, they include like the audited financial statements, and usually they either have it or they're excluded. Is that required? Because I don't see like any audited financials. I see mention of the budget and some financials such as the tax base growth. So I would just want to know if does that have to be included in our CRA's annual report?
Okay, through the chair.
Mr. Director, go ahead.
Okay. This is our annual report that we've basically submitted for the past 3 years. This will be our third or fourth submission as it relates to this particular report. It's normally due on March 31st of every year, and it's basically a report of what activities the CRA has done over the past fiscal year. Because of this pandemic, we have been given additional time. We had this actually scheduled to come before you in March, but that particular meeting was canceled. So we are where we are right now. If you would need to defer the item so that you can have a more understanding and request for additional information as needed, staff will not have a problem with that. We already had contact with Miami-Dade County's the Office of Management and Budget relating to our submission, and they are aware of the delays that have been expressed and concerns, so that we are in a position to do that. So if you need additional time, you'd like to defer, staff does not have a problem.
Okay, hearing the concerns of all of the board members, I think it would be in the best interest of us to defer this item. I would have the same concerns. And Mr. Director, when you put this report together, when you send it to us, can we have input in what's in the report?
Yes, you can.
Okay. All right. So this item as well will be deferred. Madam Attorney, how do we?
You don't have anything else to do. The director is removing it from his from the agenda, and we'll place it on the next.
Madam Chair.
The attorney's mic went on mute before she was finished.
Oh, I'm sorry. The director has stated that he is withdrawing the item for consideration.
Okay. Vice Chair Kelly.
Yes, I want to echo again, because if I'm hearing him, the only new thing that was added was the sheet 30 minutes before. But member Davis alluded to some financials and other things that he did not see. So I'm assuming, I'd like to ask to make sure whatever else documentation will be included and the concerns that have been raised be a part, whatever information gets to us before obviously we meet again. That's what I would hope.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, Mr. Director. What do you clarify? What are you saying yes to?
My clarification would be for the financial information, and actually we've gotten some new financial information recently as it relates to the operations of the CRA over the past few years. We will provide you with an updated version of this annual report. We will include those financial information and all of the other issues or concerns as it relates to the operation of the CRA. So we will provide that information during our next submission.
Okay. Okay. All right. So then we'll move into the director's report. If no other board members have any questions on that item, but it's being deferred as well. So we'll move to the director's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On the last page is a memo that was provided to you relating to our administrative report for the CRA. We've already addressed some of these concerns as it relates to the facade improvement program and moving forward with that activity taking place. You've taken action as it relates to the downtown master plan, so we need to come back and provide you with some updated information and some background information so that you have a better understanding of that. Historic City Hall, at your last board meeting, you approved a resolution to assist in funding for the completion of Historic City Hall. Just to let you know, through conversations I've had with the Director of Public Works, and you may be finding out more information later on at your commission meeting, the vendor that they were looking at re-engaging with, it has turned out that that particular company has decided that they did not want to go forward with completing the work of Historic City Hall. So it is anticipated that the selection process, a selection process will be done to hire another company to look at the completion of Historic City Hall. So that may add additional time as it relates to when that particular project will be completed. Within your packet, there was a statement, bank statement from City National Bank. There's approximately 861,000, unlike, I made a scrivener's error on my memos, 861,000 that is within the TIF trust account. And as a part of that process, our finance department has been working diligently to go through a full reconciliation of the city of Opa-locka and the CRA and the expenses that have gone back and forth between the two entities. That's going to be part of the information that we will be providing to you at our next meeting and updating with our financials. And we will hopefully be able to combine that particular background information as a part of our annual report. We've been meeting with a veterans group for a few months now, and they have an interest in doing some type of development activity within the city of Opa-locka. We're looking at some opportunities where there may be some public-private partnerships with some developments, whether it be through commercial, residential, or industrial. So there are some opportunities. There are some areas that they are interested in that are within the CRA. So there may be opportunities where the CRA could joint venture with these particular entities. So we're going to be hopefully making a presentation before you regarding that. As it relates to the finding of necessity and the update of the CRA master plan. I've spoken to you about that previously. One of the things that we would like to achieve as a part of this process is adding additional projects and programs that may not be a part of the project, a part of the plan right now. Expanding the CRA boundaries where most appropriate, and extending the timeline to equal the sunset date for the state. As it relates right now, your Opa-locka Community Development Plan and program is supposed to sunset in 2033. It was only a 20-year CRA. We're looking at extending that at least an additional 6 years to match where the state has passed legislation for all CRAs to cease operation in 2039. So we want to be able to at least maximize how long our CRA can operate. And finally, relating to the Auditor General's report, we are in the process of putting together some policies and procedures as was outlined as a part of the 15 findings that related specifically with the CRA. So we will be presenting that information for you at our next CRA meeting. If you don't have any other questions or concerns, I will address them at this time.
Mr. Vice Chair.
I saw someone. Oh, okay. Go ahead. Board Member Davis.
To Mr. Gay, just to back up a little to touch on City Hall, you said that the contractor that we were scheduled to revisit, he's not interested in remobilizing to complete the scope of work?
According to my conversations that I had with the Director of Planning, the Director of Public Works, Mr. Austin, he did inform me of that. That is definitely going to delay us as it relates to the utilization of the funds from the CRA as well as from the city in order to get our City Hall completed and hopefully up and operating. We were looking at hopefully having that, engaging the previous vendor and having that work done within the next six to 8 months. It seems like that particular timeline may not be feasible or obtainable. So we're basically waiting to see where we are from the city standpoint, as well as the CRA standpoint in relationship to the expenditure of funds to completing the historic City Hall project.
Okay, and I'm also under the understanding that if in the event that we pursue a different contractor, that the dollar amount allocated towards the project may change because cost of materials ideally may go up. I guess also as a recommendation, the contractor was bonded, so at some point we will probably revisit the bond and pursue those options as because they are contractually, I think, obligated to complete the project.
That would be something that you will probably need to entertain from a city commission perspective. I just wanted to basically let you know, at least from the CRA's perspective, how our particular allocation toward the completion of that project may be utilized for the future.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am. Board Member Titus.
Yes, this is directed to Mr. Gay. I just have the front page, the first page of your administrative report. Could you just email me, not right now, but could you email me the full report, please?
Yes, ma'am.
And I also only have, I do not on the redevelopment, the annual report. I do not have the first page. I have, I guess, the second page that starts with article number 3 and it ends with article number 10. I don't know if 10 is the last one or not.
Um, 10 is the last one. Yes, it is.
Okay, well then
But-
just the
But
first
it looks
page.
like
So
you may be missing 1 or 2 pages. Okay, we will make that adjustment.
Right.
And have
all
that
right, thank you.
submitted to you.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir. Vice Chair Kelly.
thank you. A couple of things to the director. If I heard him correctly regarding the audit findings, you're gonna have a report or update on that at the next meeting. Did I hear you say that correctly?
Actually, that's dealing with the reconciliation of funds utilized between the CRA and the city of Opa-locka. It is a part of the audit findings. It is a part of that process, but it's not an audit per se. So it is a reconciliation of the expenditures between the two entities.
Okay, and all of the other that were related to the CRA has been addressed now?
All of the other, I'm not.
Remember, there were specific things related to the CRA in the quote unquote 99 findings. So you're
Yes.
saying the reconciliation is the only thing that has to be done?
No, the reconciliation is not the only thing that needs to be done. There's some policies and procedures that need to be put in place in order to make a better determination as to how the CRA is to operate into the future. So that's another project that we are working on to bring those policies and procedures before you.
So in other words, okay, I guess let me ask it this way. All of the items related to the findings that relate to CRA, you're still working in process on completing all of those.
Yes, sir.
And you mentioned hopefully to have some of them, at least one of them, a couple of them before us at our next meeting.
Yes, sir.
Okay, secondly, I was mentioned by Member Davis, and you just gave it to us for informational purposes regarding historic City Hall, since that's probably you're not going to use in the bond issue, something we could talk about with the attorney in the regular meeting. Was there any discussion, since you had discussion with the Public Works Director, whomever, about needing additional dollars from the CRA to help with that project in anticipation of what you all already kind of figured out it's going to be more?
We did not have a discussion as to whether there would need to be additional funds allocated toward the completion of the project, not knowing what, by hiring a new vendor for the completion, whether those expenditures may go up or whether they may go down. So not knowing what the scope of the project would be, it has not been any type of determination that additional funds would need to be allocated at this time.
Well, to the chair, my colleagues, just to you, the director, I would hope that you would look at, our dollars, what we have and what we're anticipating on spending, whether it's through the facade program or our administrative, to see what is the maximum amount that you would be willing to recommend or suggest when we get to that point of potential dollars that the CRA could, put towards the City Hall project. Because obviously I'm of the opinion it's going to cost more. So you can, I guess, be looking at what that number or threshold, because I'm quite sure it'll be more than what we've kind of allocated. But knowing with the revenues we have, what you anticipate our expenses, whether it's through the facade program or other things that you're doing administratively, to say this is our cap that we could possibly contribute. If you could work on whatever that potential amount, bless you, that potential amount is, that would be helpful. The other thing is in reference to Cuyahoga. I see it on your list of potential projects in terms of redevelopment. Can you hopefully at the next meeting give us an update of where we are on that? I've been working on that for years, and I know there's been some progress. But could you provide the board with some kind of status update from the CRA perspective?
Yes, sir. I can.
Okay, well, that would be helpful. You can provide that to us. Okay, you mentioned earlier about want to extend to the maximum that it allowed. I guess it's for the attorney, so she can weigh in under her report. Since we're at about a 6-year difference, I'd like to go ahead and make that request, since we have now started the facade program and are making some movements on different things, to make that request to, i.e. the city, i.e. to the county, who would have ultimate authority on extending or giving us those extra 6 years so we can already have that as a part of our base. Would you recommend doing that? If so, I'll sponsor the resolution if necessary for the next meeting to go ahead and make that request to the county so they can be, the same as opposed to our 6-year difference.
I would like to do that. Timing is everything. I would like to at least get some documentation that would be approved by the CRA board to the county so that we can be in better standing with our submission of information. And then once that has been pretty much brought up to date, maybe not at the next meeting, but subsequently sometime within this fiscal year, we can begin to make those moves and make that request.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Not make requests now, but hopefully now we're making some steps with facade and other things you're doing. I
Yes,
think
sir.
it'd be appropriate once you get some document that you can send to them to show we're doing. We need to go ahead and make that request before the year is out. That's what I'm really saying.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I'm only saying that because I may not be here, but I want to put that on record. We need to make sure we do that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, sir. Vice Chair Kelly. Anyone else for the director? Okay, well, I have a few concerns. Mr. Director, you said, just one second. Excuse me, y'all, grandson just walked in.
We know what's important. Look at the Vice Mayor fishbowl. It'll calm you down.
Excuse me, I'm in a meeting. Mr. Director, I heard you said about the audit findings. You said that you had worked on some and that you would present them to us at the next board meeting. But if I remember correctly, in one of the previous meetings, you said that we had already addressed some of those findings previously.
In the previous meeting, what had been addressed was addressing some of the concerns as relates to how the city and the CRA interact with one another. And that was actually through the memorandum of understanding. As a result of that, now we're actually going and moving one step further to establish policies and procedures based on what the memorandum of understanding directed us to do to further clarify the relationship between the city of Opa-locka and the Opa-locka CRA. So those are the things that we will be bringing forward to you. The memorandum of understanding only addressed certain aspects from a global perspective. Now we're kind of coming back and giving you more details as to how the city and the CRA will interact with one another based on policies and procedures.
Okay, so the things that we've addressed already, have those answers been submitted to the audit committee? Or are you holding on to everything to send them as one? Or have we already addressed them with the audit findings board or whoever sent with the auditor general?
We've been working with the budget director in addressing the overall findings with the entire city. My primary focus is the CRA's findings. So there have been some information that has transferred back and forth, but we want to be more complete and concise as it relates to the 15 findings that are specifically related to the CRA. So to further clarify, some information has been transferred to the state. The state has responded back with further clarification from us, which is where the policies and procedures will come in. So we still have more homework to do, and we want to be able to present and cover all of those particular findings and produce some policies and procedures. And that hopefully will encumber and wrap up all of the concerns that they had expressed as a part of those findings.
Okay, so whatever you've addressed and sent to Tallahassee and whatever they've sent back, can we as a board please have access to that information as well?
Yes, ma'am.
The other thing is, please, I've asked it before, put page numbers on the documents when you send them to us. They need to have page numbers on them. You know, whether it's one of 100 or however, they need page numbers, please.
Yes, ma'am.
I think for me, that's it. Do we have anything else from any other board members? Anyone else? Madam Attorney, before we hang up, again, before we adjourn the meeting, there was a question that was sent to all of us as a board member that they think some of the people that were invited to this meeting thought they were invited by mistake or something. Did you see that?
I did not. No, ma'am.
Okay, it was sent in I don't know when we're doing virtual meetings, how will we handle the group chat?
Well, currently, no one is excluded from the meeting. It is still considered a public meeting. And so in this case, the city has, and I guess it probably has a lot to do with the fact that we don't have a lot of public participation in the CRA meetings. The city has allowed everybody who dialed in to be on the phone and silently. You did not have public comment. You did ask that it be announced who was on the line, and that was done. And so there's no one who would be exempted from the meeting or any meeting. Anybody who wished to have participated or come on the line would have been invited. So there was no, I'm sure the staff just probably sent something out. I have not seen the document you're referring to, but I'm sure they probably just sent it out globally, letting them know that this issue was going to come up tonight. And they're certainly invited to be on the call.
Oh, okay. Okay, because I want you to check the chat, the comment that was put in the chat, because I didn't know how to address it. But anyway, if there's nothing else, let me make sure we've gone through everything. Am I missing anything, Mr. Director or Mr. Attorney? Help me out, please.
All of our items have been covered, Madam Chair.
Okay. Okay, if there's nothing else from the board members?
Madam Chair?
Yes, sir.
I just want to be clear. So unless something occurs, we're not going to piggyback off of any special meetings or any meetings that the commission is going to have. So the next time we're going to meet is our regular scheduled meeting.
Well, I think that we should, as soon as possible, if there's going to be a special meeting by the commission, since we will have that one item that will be on our agenda, hopefully, that one item, then we can piggyback off of a meeting that the commission is having so that we could address the item, because they said it was a item that we needed to move forward on.
Well, I would suggest, and again, I'm not saying we're going to have one, but if we are, that we would look at maybe trying to piggyback on that one before or whatever to address those two items, because you have actually two. You deferred two items, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
That's why I brought that up. So staff can keep us advised, and I guess through you, the chair, and you can let us know. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anything else before we adjourn the meeting? Mr. Director, I saw you.
Yes. Just as a follow-up, if we are looking to schedule a special meeting or to have a preemptive CRA meeting before the next commission meeting, May 13th would be that date, unless there are some other dates that you as the commission or as the CRA board would have in mind. Other than that, our next scheduled meeting will be scheduled for May 27th, which is the Wednesday following Memorial Day weekend.
Following or before? Wednesday
Before. The Wednesday following Memorial Day weekend. Memorial Day weekend is on the 25th this year.
Okay. All right, well, you can get back with us on a time that when the documents and everything is ready, and
Yes,
then we could you could give poll the board, and we can see at that time what's the best time for us to do. If you're going to be having something with the commission, would that be good? You know, maybe by then, you know, things will be lifted and, you know, we'll be back to normal. We don't know, but we could certainly work through whatever we have to work through at that time. Madam Attorney, I saw you moving towards.
No, ma'am, I was just getting my notepad. Thank you.
Okay, is there anything else? Any board members?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay. Motion to adjourn by Vice Chair Kelly, second by Board Member Burke. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, everybody be safe. God bless you.
All right, thank you.
God bless you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.